ages. And one thing I really like about your story is that you mentioned that when you were in your late 40s, you had your second divorce, and you mentioned that during that time you were kind of lonely and you didn't really know what was going on. But then you managed to actually build a life that's, to be honest, has probably been really exciting over the past 20 some years, right? So what I want to know is, how did you manage to go from that place where a lot of people, they actually end up feeling like life has no meaning when they go through what you went through. So how did you manage to drag yourself from that place and find a life that has been giving you meaning and giving you purpose? Like, how did you do that?
All right. That's a good question. Now, one thing that I tell people, because purpose is a big topic nowadays,
Yeah.
and it's a big subject, especially with men. I want to live with passion. I want my purpose. What was my meaning? And honestly, I don't know that there's been that many things in my life, many times where I went out seeking my purpose. But what I often do is go seeking to resolve a problem or something that I don't understand. Because like No More Mr. Nice Guy, I was trying to resolve a problem that wasn't working well for me in my life. So I went seeking answers. When I got divorced in my late 40s, and I hadn't dated since college, and I sucked at it back then. And I
Wow.
married two women and stayed with the two for 25 years, and neither one I should have dated more than 3 dates. So I had to figure out how to be a better picker and how to be a better ender. Or I just knew I'd end up where. So I went out. How do you date? How do you do that effectively? So I've often gone trying to resolve problems that I had, stuff I didn't understand or wasn't doing very well. So that's been really actually pretty fulfilling. I've written books about it. Is taking me on adventures, learning to overcome things that I was struggling with. So that's one way. Is if there's something that's not working well for me, I try to get understand it, get good at it. Like I remember when I was teaching, my Dating Essentials for Men programs, guys would say, "Well, I'm not good at X, Y, or Z. I'm not good at texting, or I'm not good at writing a profile, or I'm not good at bantering, or I'm not good at approach." And you know what I would tell guys? I said, "Tell you what, tell yourself that in 12 months you're going to practice writing so many text messages or writing so many profiles or approaching so many women or bantering. You're going to, for the next 12 months, you are going to become such a professional at doing this thing you don't do well right now that people will be asking you to teach it to them." All right. That's where you go get masterful at something. And that's where you begin to find out, I am good at this. I just, had fear or self-limiting beliefs or didn't have the right skills or the right knowledge. So that's a really powerful thing. Go get good at the thing you're stuck on. You're stuck on. Okay. Um, I'm sure when you started, doing podcasts, you probably weren't that good at it.
You're my first
But
guest, by the way.
yeah, and you're actually not bad at it for
I
you
appreciate
be
it.
first to one, and you went out and rented a studio, and I mean, you really made an effort, and I bet after this done, you're going to be so excited. You go, next time I know I can do that better, and I can do that better, and I'm going to do that, and you can't wait to do the next one. That's exciting, right? That
Yeah.
feels purposeful.
Yeah.
Okay, so go get good at something either that you're stuck at, you're having problems with, or you're curious about. Go get good at the thing that you're curious about, or that you've had this daydream or fantasy about. So there's one thing. Another thing that I did is I really worked at becoming more of a social animal. I just got out a lot. I'd take my laptop, a book I was reading, my newspaper, go to coffee shops. I'd go eat a lot of my meals at happy hour at the bar in a restaurant. I'd talk to people everywhere I went. I just practice engaging with people, starting conversations. How's your day going so far? Think it's ever going to rain? Man, how about that ball game? Whatever. I'd ask people their names. I remember their names. I took dance lessons. I went to salsa lessons. I just did. I just got social. And there's one coffee shop I used to go to a lot when I lived in Seattle, and everybody referred to me as the mayor of the coffee shop. I had more than one friend when I was living in a different part before I got married here, living in Mexico, and I was kind of out a lot more and more of a touristy part of town. Friends would come visit me, and be saying hi to people all around. I'd know every waiter, I'd know people that worked, various, and people go, "Robert, you're the mayor of Puerto Vallarta." I just worked at being social. So that's another piece. Another thing that I did is I started paying attention to what I call my sweet spots. Where do I feel the best? Where do I feel the most energized? Where do I feel the most excited? And that actually informed a lot my move to Puerto Vallarta from Seattle, because once I discovered Puerto Vallarta and it's warm and the culture and the food and the ocean and music and blue skies, I just wanted to keep coming back. And so for about 10 years, I just came back and visited as often as I could. And then in that process, I got divorced, was living alone. I didn't come quite as often, then I still would come down. I go, every time I'm here, I'm happy. Every time I go back to Seattle, it's rainy, it's cold, it's dark. People are in their cars, nobody talks, nobody's friendly. And I just, okay, here was a sweet spot. There was not so much. And so I finally, over a period of 10 years, orchestrated my business to where I could come live down here for 3 months. That was 2010. And then next year was 4 months, then six. Then after a while, I bought a house, met a woman, Mexican woman, got married, and this is home now. Now Seattle is a sweet spot to go visit my mother in the summertime, and that's a sweet spot. So I try to do that as much as I can. Spending time with guy friends is a sweet spot for me. Not scheduling too many things in the morning is part of my sweet spot. Not doing my taxes and accounting, paying someone to do it. Those aren't sweet spots to do. So I pay someone. So I started paying attention to my sweet spots and spending as much time there as possible and minimizing the areas that were not my sweet spots. Okay. Another thing that I started really paying attention to is I had a friend down here. It was an older gay couple that ran a bed and breakfast that I used to stay at. My mother used to come and stay there. They both passed away, but the one of them was a German immigrant. They met in Germany after World War II, and he had this thick German accent, even though he'd lived in America. He moved here before I was even born, but he
Oh
still
wow.
spoke like he's fresh off the boat. Um, and he told great stories. They just lived this big adventurous life. And he used to have this one phrase. He said, "It's a sin to say no when you should have said yes." He goes, "It's a mortal sin to say no when you should have said yes." Now, as a nice guy, I always like, oh, I don't know if I should do that, or I don't know, I better think about it, or I better ask a few people's opinion, or I better research it, or I better go slow. Or I don't, And since then, so many things, so many doors have opened up in my life that I just said yes to, without even giving them a second thought. People say, how'd you meet your wife? I said, I was walking down the street here in Puerto Vallarta. I had my backpack on, going to a Starbucks, being the social animal. Walked past the place. I heard a voice say, "Hola, senor, want a massage?" And I didn't even look. I said, "No, hoy, tal vez mañana." Not today, maybe tomorrow. Kept walking, but my friend had been saying, "Robert, pay more attention to your emotional inputs, not just your input." Okay, I thought, I liked her voice. I didn't even remember what she looked like, but I liked her voice. I turned around, walked back, and got a massage. We've been married 7.5 years now. So
Wow.
that was a yes, right? The house that I live in, I'd been looking, I lost two different leases on condos I was in, looking for condo, land inside Puerto Vallarta, outside. My then girlfriend, now wife, said, "Robert, I don't even know how to help you because we look at all these places." I go, "I don't know. I'll know it when I find it." The very next day, we walked through this house, and it was empty. It'd been empty for a while. I liked the architecture of it. It has a swimming pool in the backyard, needed some TLC. I just walked through upstairs, downstairs, walked out front, didn't say a word to my then girlfriend. We get outside and she says to me in Spanish, "You love it, don't you?" I said, "I'm going to buy this house." I didn't know how. I didn't have the money. I bought it and paid it off in 3 years. Okay. My dog Nala was always, either laying right here at my feet or right outside
Yeah.
my, same thing. Nala found us. Art finds me. Every good, amazing thing in my life finds me. And I've learned when those things find you, say yes. Walk through those open doors. So being a social animal, getting good at the things that you're puzzled about, that you're struggling with, um, saying yes, identifying your sweet spots, spending as much time as you can in them. Those are the primary ways that I've done, and building good social connection. 7, 8 years ago, I would have told you I had 1.5 good guy friends. I thought, all right, I
Wow.
got to work on that. I'm living in Mexico. I don't really know too many people. And so I looked, I found a men's program. Now I got 25 to 50 guys I could call up and they'd fly down here if I needed them. So
Really?
working at creating a robust social life with deep, real connections for me with other men is so powerful.
Okay.
So that's just some of the stuff I've been doing.